Donna Zerner, where are you? Here comes Donna. Woo.
It was 1989, and I was living in Los Angeles working for a book publisher. I hated LA because, well, LA. But I loved my job. And one of the cool things was all these amazing authors would hang around the office. And one of those authors was this guy named Ralph, who was writing a memoir about his adventures as Hollywood's leading wild animal trainer. Now, I loved animals, and Ralph really loved animals, and he ended up as my boyfriend. And I think maybe I should say old man friend, because Ralph was ancient. He was 58. I was only 28, so a lot of people, especially at work, gave me a really hard time about that 30-year age gap. But Ralph was a great guy and really young at heart, and so I just tried to enjoy the relationship and ignore what people thought. And besides, I got to go visit his ranch where he had lions and tigers and bears. And yes, thank you, and chimps and wolves and elephants. It was so cool. So at this job, whenever a new book would come out, if the author was in town, they would come into the office and sometimes do a presentation for the staff, talk about it. So one day, a new book was coming out called The Art of Sexual Ecstasy, and it was an illustrated guide to tantric sex. Now, this was before tantric sex was really popular in the West. I mean, back then, Sting was still doing it missionary style. So this book was a little edgy, but the author comes in, her name was Margot Anand, and she gathered us all in my boss's office, the whole staff standing in a circle, about 12 of us, and she pulls out a large quartz crystal beautifully carved into the shape of a penis. But she didn't call it a penis, she called it a sacred lingam. And she said, now I'm gonna pass this around, and when it comes to you, please offer a blessing for the success of my book while you stroke the sacred lingam. Well, there was a lot of giggling. The guys in particular were really nervous about the stroking. But we did it, and it was magical. And the whole time, I'm just thinking, God, I love this job. It was so fun. And it gave me an idea, because Ralph's book was going to be coming out the following week. And I thought, this is an opportunity for Ralph to prove to my coworkers that he was more than just Donna's creepily older boyfriend, and he was the cool animal dude. So I went to him and I said, Ralph, you have to beat the crystal penis. You have to bring an animal into the office. He wasn't sure about that, but he said, I'll see what I can do. So the following week, we're all gathered in the conference room waiting for Ralph to come and do his talk, and he walks in, and he's got, at the end of a leash, a full-grown spotted jaguar. It was beautiful. And everyone's jaw just fell to the floor. People were so blown away. And Ralph got the jaguar up on the conference table. He did not say, now everyone please take turns stroking the jaguar's penis. But we did get to all pet it while Ralph talked about the book, and it was so cool. And the whole time I'm thinking, yes, this is it. This is the thing that will now make people appreciate Ralph and stop giving me such a hard time about this relationship. So after we were done, I walked with Ralph to take the Jaguar back to his truck around the block. And we're walking down the sidewalk on Wilshire Boulevard, which is a very large street, busy street in LA. And all of a sudden, we hear honking cars and cars screeching to a halt and yelling. And I look up, and all these cars have just stopped in the middle of the street because they see a friggin' Jaguar walking on the sidewalk, and they're freaking out. And the Jaguar hears all this noise, and the Jaguar freaks out and just sits his butt down on the sidewalk and refuses to budge. So I looked down at this Jaguar, and I felt so bad because I realized this is because of me, because I wanted to impress people at work, and I was worried about what they thought. And so now this Jaguar is sitting, suffering on the streets of LA where it didn't really belong because of me, and I felt really bad. Well, after about 5 minutes of coaxing from Ralph and lots of treats, he eventually was able to get the Jaguar up and back to the truck. And as we put it in the back of the truck, I just looked into that Jaguar's beautiful golden eyes, and I said, I am so sorry. And I like to think that he forgave me. Postscript, Ralph and I eventually split up after I just finally realized that I could not see a future with someone who had been born during the Hoover administration. It's just too old. Now I'm the one who's 58, which doesn't feel so old. But Ralph, he's 88. That is ancient. But he's fine because he ended up marrying a woman who was 44 years younger than him. I know, mazel tov, right? Oh, and that tantric sex book, it went on to sell over 500,000 copies, which just goes to show, never underestimate the power of the sacred lingam.